Hey everyone, I'm Tony Dokoupil, and you are watching a live stream of me and four of my favorite colleagues here at CBS for a conversation about fatherhood ahead of Father's Day. They do it annually now. We're really happy about that, us fathers. I'm a father of four, by the way, and by virtue of having, I think, the heaviest burden of college tuition in my future, I get to be the host of this little round table. But I'd like to introduce you to who else will be joining us. Steve Hartman. Do we have a Steve Hartman on the internet? We do. Tony. There's Steve. Hello, Steve. Thank you for being here. Dr. Jon LaPook from our 57th Street studio, the Broadcast Center. There he is.
Tony, Steve.
And by the wonders of satellite technology, joining us from overseas, Ramy Inocencio, I believe in London. Ramy? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Yep, here we are. Wonders of technology. Yes, pressing the button. You guys here in London.
And finally, from Rome, Italy, the old country for me, we have Chris Livesay. Oh, technology, don't fail me now. There he is. On the
Here we are. Hey.
So, as I said, I'm a father of four. Father's Day is on the horizon. And Steve, you are a wise man on all number of matters, and I'm sure fatherhood is included in that. Could you tell us a bit about, for those people who have not been watching our show, how many kids you have and your approach to dadding?
I have three kids, George, Emmett, and Merrill, and they are 15, 13, and 10. And I'm proud because I didn't even have to look at my cheat sheet to remember that, because those ages, it seems like they change every year. I can't keep track of it. I'm a father of three, and people may not know that, but know this. But I am I have this one-of-a-kind trophy. I am the best father. So I guess you guys were all runners up in this competition, but that's me. So, but I do a segment on mornings with two of my children. The other one's not. He doesn't like television, so he doesn't appear. But I have no credentials for this. I'm a very average father. I'm a much better dad on TV than I am in real life. I'll tell you that much.
Dr. LaPook?
I'm going to contradict that, because I will bet anything, Steve, knowing you, that you have the one characteristic that's crucial, which is unconditional love.
Depends on the day, Doctor.
And sometimes conditional. I have two sons. Daniel, 31, he worked at Pixar and then Sesame Workshop, and now is getting his a master's in social work at NYU. And then my son Noah LaPook, is 27, and he is an actor and musician. He just launched yesterday an album. His Instagram tag is La Pucaracha. And on Spotify Music, and I think same thing. No credentials, but you play it by ear, and it's the best thing ever.
Since Ramy Inocencio has some of his children actually moving around in the background, I think we should go to him next.
Thanks, Tony. It's all about the background, right? And I have to refer to them since we are in television news. So Ethan, right there, with my husband Shini and our other kid there. Ian, thanks.
Oh, there we go.
One of them there, the other one in the background here. So my twins, they're 1.5 years old as of next week, Sunday. And it's been a long process for us because we did it through fertility and surrogacy, my husband and I. It was maybe like a 5-year journey for us to do this, for us to actually even think, could we do it? How could we do it? Could we afford it? And then basically being a pioneer of sorts in the LGBT space to be gay dads. In terms of a dogma, I don't have one, but I think that trying to make sure that I'm here and present as much as possible for all of us, because our jobs are so demanding time-wise. When we hear work-life balance, we all probably think, what work-life balance? So anytime that I get off a plane from wherever we're reporting from, I try to hot tail it back to the house to be with my family as much as possible.
I hear you on that, Ramy. I've had kids because I've had four, and the first one arrived when I was in my 20s. Basically, my entire career in journalism, which included lots of fun travel, did not include a lot of fun, like staying an extra day and going to the beach in that location or having a wonderful meal. I always had to hightail it back home. So I really recognize that one. Chris Livesay, take it away.
Well, I swear I didn't time that. I can't. That's my little girl, Iris. She's almost 2. And, we had her during COVID. And then a few months after she was born, I went to Ukraine and spent 4 months of that first year of her life in a war zone. So that was my baptism by fire into fatherhood. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who can have that experience, but I'm still learning. I have a lot to glean from this call from my colleagues here.
Well, then, I think we should stick on the subject then of wisdom's triumphs and fails is what I like to call them. And rather than we were going to run a clip of our other colleague Vlad's new experience as a father, but I want to keep the flow of the conversation here. So I'll just say that, and I want to ask you for triumphs and fails recently as well. I had a recent one as recent as last night. I cooked dinner. And we were having some friends over, and my 4-year-old Teddy is a handful, particularly when he's with his sister, 2-year-old Eloise. And I'm trying to fight the fight against screens. So I was trying to give them an activity in the kitchen while I was preparing dinner. And so they were play cooking, which involved, and this is the triumph part, I was giving them like expired spices and like salt that I knew I was never going to use, like, weird gift salt that someone gave you. And they were on the deck and making a huge mess, and it was all wonderful. And then they noticed that I was using olive oil, so they wanted the olive oil container. And fortunately, we were just out, so I had an empty one that I marked with a blue label so I wouldn't get confused. And then I filled it up with water, and then they would have the experience of squirting the olive oil. So that distracted them, and I got really into the flow of cooking. And then friends came over. At the moment we went to sit down at dinner, I looked at the mess on the deck, and it was like a liter of oil had been poured out there. And I realized that at some point during the cooking, my son, assuming that I guess it was okay since I gave him a bottle of oil, took the actual bottle of oil and disposed of all of it, just purchased. So, sometimes a triumph can become a fail is one of the lessons of fatherhood.
I'm just realizing my failures because I don't have any olive oil or gifted salt that I'm mixing together to create a clever dinner. I just cut some vegetables for the kids and give them a piece of string cheese. So I didn't know I had a failure till you just launched into that. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Tony.
Tony, what kind of friends are giving you salt?
I know. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, when people
really call that a friend?
People know that I like to cook, and then someone will be like, oh, they took a trip somewhere, and they'll bring you like some salt from a special salt maker in Santa Fe. Or my mom lives in West Virginia, and there's a kind of salt called Dickinson salt, which is good in that area, and she brings it. But she always brings it not just plain salt, but like packed with mushrooms and other weird flavors that I have no idea how to incorporate into anything. So
you just saved me for your next birthday. For your next birthday, there's a special boutique salt called Mortons.
Exactly.
I'm gonna see if I can find some for you.
I like the salt. It's called Mortons salt.
Okay, a lot of people pronounce it Morton's, but
do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Triumphs and fails. Who's got something for me?
Well, I have the triumph and fail when they were very, very little. Like Daniel, you probably relate to this. When Daniel was like 9 and Noah was 5, they were always fighting, and that was of concern to Kate and I. And finally, there was an incident where Noah. He wanted to know whether there was really if anybody is very small, under 10, you might want to turn this off now. But he wanted to know if there was a tooth fairy, and he was very insistent on it. And so we finally told him the truth about the tooth fairy. And he had a temper tantrum like you have never seen in your life, on the floor, full pounding on the floor, as bad as it could be. And then at the end, the end of the tantrum when they're going, it's just about to end. And Daniel, for like the first time, gently goes over to him and rubs his shoulder, and we're so happy. And he goes, "Noah, I know just how you feel. I felt the same way when I found out that there's no Easter Bunny." There's no Easter Bunny! You know, you try to, like, you know, do the best you can to make them friends and all that. And guess what? Now they're best friends. So I think, you know, understanding that they actually do listen, they actually hear what you say. You think, like that song, that wonderful song, you think that they're not hearing what you say. They hear what you say. And then sometimes 10 years later, they'll say something that says, "Oh my God, you heard that? You incorporated that?"
Yeah. You know, we got two topics in from some viewers here. One topic people are interested in is tips for Father's Day gifts. So I think maybe Ramy or Chris, if you want to, there's a particular gift that you're looking for this year.
You can't bottle sleep, but I think we all know that already. As a new dad, that's something that I miss a lot. But I think, I think that for all those watching who are new dads or thinking about it, you definitely get into your own space as a new family, and you realize that you talk with your spouse or with your own kids more so than with your friends. And I do miss having the community or hanging out with my friends physically. So if you're a new dad out there and you think, "Oh, you know, I haven't heard from so-and-so," and if you're watching this, definitely reach out and just drop a line, I think.
What's the advice part? I was looking forward to that.
The advice is just to reach out and to maintain communication with your friends who are new dads, because I think they want to hear from you. Especially when you might get into your own head, your own focus on your family, especially the first year or two.
Yeah.
There are a lot of friends who I've seen, who I have, that have just disappeared and gone into family life. Nothing wrong about that. But then everyone's like, "Oh, where'd they go? Oh, you know, they're a dad now." That doesn't mean that you can't have friends, right? And so
Yeah.
I'd like to feel that I won't be that kind of dad. I feel it here and there. What I'm saying is it'd be nice to have that social fabric still.
Where'd they go? They're a dad now. Summarizes my entire life in adulthood.
And I'll piggyback on that. I feel like one of the great things about FaceTime and, you know, gizmos like we're using right now to communicate is a phone call can be so much more engaging for a child than it used to be with video. And so if I get a call from a friend somewhere in Arizona where I'm from, you know, 9-hour time difference, my life might be completely different from this single childless friend of mine. But man, thank God they just called on FaceTime, and now I can just introduce them to Uncle Jeremiah, who's going to keep Iris entertained for the next 5 minutes, you know, because that's a new person who's just teleported into her life. And so that call to check in on Chris is actually doing me an enormous favor, because that's 5 minutes, hopefully more, where I don't have to, you know, be a circus clown. I can, you know, hand it over to my buddy for a few minutes.
Yeah. I mean, Ramy, I think the most valuable gift for a father is, you know, people give books, but really you need to give people the time to read the book, or time to go watch a movie in the afternoon, or just, you know, sit in the easy chair a little bit longer, I think is the great want. Somebody sent me a meme not that long ago that said, "What they didn't tell me about parenthood is how often I would have to get up from where I was sitting."
On that note, you talk about failures. My biggest failure was there was one time when my oldest George was climbing on a piece of play, you know, like a play kitchen or something like that. And I just go, "That looks dangerous. He could fall off that and hurt himself." But I didn't get up and do anything about it. And sure enough, he fell off that and knocked out a tooth. So I needed that advice before George came along, that I would actually have to get up out of the chair. Because
was it a baby tooth or a grown tooth?
It was a baby tooth.
Okay,
yeah,
but
I
okay.
literally sat there and I think, I don't want to get up out of the chair, and you know, I kind of knew it was going to happen, and they're going to take this award away from me, I'm sure. But that was my biggest failure. And I also don't, I don't have any. You know, you talk about how you want to maintain your relationship with your friends. Becoming a dad, I don't have really any friends. And maybe that's the reason I don't have much salt either. But I feel like I don't miss, great friendships. I kind of, anytime I have free time, I do want to be with my wife and kids. There isn't really anybody else that trumps that. And maybe this is going to make me very lonely when the last one goes off to college, but for now it suits me.
Well,
No, I know what you mean.
Oh,
There we go.
There we are.
Well, Steve, you talk about your child falling off the chair. That's the philosophy, right? So it's controlled disaster, because you can't, you don't want to protect them from every single thing, because they're going to be out in the world and you're not going to always be there. So how do you let them discover this is dangerous without calamity? And
You're making me feel a lot better about my laziness. Thank you.
Hey,
Have
Jon.
you seen all the cacti behind me? I mean, I let my daughter wander around back here. It's the only way she'll learn. That's what I tell myself.
yeah. I mean, we all have to let our kids fall down. I think our reaction here is that when they do fall down, they're just starting to walk, starting to run really now, is that when they fall down, we're not like, oh no. We're like, yay. And then they think it's like a happy thing. And then they get up and they're like, clap, 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 clap. We got up. Let's do it again.
Yeah, we would say good trick.
Oh, yeah. And there's Ethan. He has less hair, and Ian has more hair. Yeah, twins there.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Gorgeous kids. Hey, Dr. LaPook, another question from a viewer was whether there's a favorite age that you've had so far. Us with much younger kids. I do have an 11-year-old and a almost 14-year-old. So I have some favorites in there, but you've got fully grown kids. Do you have a favorite age?
This is going to sound so corny, but every single moment. I mean, they are so delicious and when they're little, right? And they say the cutest thing. I mean, Daniel, when he was 4, would put his hands on his hips and say, "Daddy, don't be fidiclious." Now, he would still be saying fidiclious. I would never have corrected that, So you love all of that stuff. Now, he's grown up. He's amazing. He's always a son, but he's more of a friend. We can have better conversations. When they're babies, I can't wait till then he or she can talk and we can actually, I can find out what they want. I think this all comes back. My mother, when she would peel an orange, there's Noah, the musician, and that's Daniel, and Riley. That's my granddog, a little miniature Bernadette up in Vermont. My mother, when we were little, she would go to peel an orange, and she would tell us, at this moment, this orange has never seen the light of day. And then she would peel the orange. This moment. I mean, now it would be called mindfulness, but back then it was just my mom peeling an orange. But that's really I think that's the best lesson you can have, is every moment is wonderful, appreciated. And the old thing, it goes so fast. It does. I cannot believe 27 and 31. Wow.
Yeah. Jerry Seinfeld has a bit about quality time. It's not really a bit. It's just something he told an interviewer once. He says all time is quality time. And when it comes to kids, he doesn't want the special occasion. He wants the just standing in the kitchen, looking over at your kid, eating a bowl of cereal, not even looking at you, one sock on, no plans for the day. Garbage time, he says. Give me garbage time. I'll take all of it. And I think that's a really nice way to put it. It's the kind of wisdom I expect from a Steve Hartman story, actually. The thing I wanted to mention about the World's Greatest Dad trophy, Steve, is that your title is Best Dad, which is situationally dependent, whereas mine is geographically described World's Best. It's got two bands there that lift me up, I think, above, to be honest.
Yours is confined just to Earth,
to
the
the
way
Earth,
I interpret it, and mine
Steve's
is
could be universal.
Father. It could be in the universe. So, I mean, you
the
interpret it how
multiverse
you
even
want,
these days.
Man, that is true. All right, I guess I'll have to swallow that one. So while we have a lull here in conversation, let's just play this Vlad to Dad piece that we have, and then we'll have some final thoughts on the back end of it as we witness Vlad's transformation from just a regular human out there to a human who's made another human.
I'm very proud to say we are kicking off our new series, Vlad to Dad, where we help our very own Vlad Dutier prepare for fatherhood. For our first story, I took Vlad shopping to help him and his wife, Marion, build a baby registry for their little girl. As a father of 4, I've had a lot of practice, and I have a few opinions on what he needs. So we went to... Okay, they got the pictures. They got all of them, apparently. We went to a Target in the Bronx, and as you'll see, not only did Vlad learn a lot, we also had a good time.
Today the work begins, all right? Because it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to raise a child from birth to 18. And we're gonna start spending that money today, okay? Yeah, let's do it.
So, at this point, you've got 4.
I have 4, yeah. I've done this. I'll let you in a little secret. I don't remember anything.
Really?
It's a complete blank, but I'm hoping that when I see everything again, it'll refresh my memory. It'll all come back to me. It's like riding a bicycle. All right. Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Lesson number 1, when it comes to kid clothes, only have the baby clothes that actually fit your child in the drawer. If you have stuff in there for 3-month-olds and 6-month-olds and 9-month-olds, just because they're cute, you will pull them out in a high-pressure moment, and you will have the wrong item, all right? And you will drive yourself nuts.
Bam.
Hey. Okay, we'll talk about all this in a second.
Okay.
I want to show you something really cool.
Okay.
This is your daughter. This is your daughter as an infant. This is your daughter as a slightly larger baby.
Okay.
We're going to carry your daughter using some help from a contraption that's really useful. Just come over
All
here.
right, let's go. Okay, make sure my head is propped up. Yes.
There you go. Not bad.
Not bad, right?
All right.
I know what I'm doing here.
All right, these are carriers. The other thing I would recommend is a wrap. It is an ancient, tried and tested way of carrying a baby around. The babies love it. You go ahead. You do what you think is best.
It's a lot of work.
But it's a lot of work. Fine, yeah, it is. But now you can play the guitar.
Oh.
You can walk and talk.
Right.
You can drink and toast. You can have a good old time.
Look at that. Some things never change. Good old Pampers.
You're gonna be good with these for a little while. This is 104 diapers.
Perfect.
10 a day.
10 a day?
Could be 15, could be 20 a day. Yeah.
20 poops and pees a day? So what's the most important thing you gotta remember when you're looking at a car seat?
So you got to make sure that your car seat is compatible with your car, but also with your stroller, because this is going to be the baby rolls around in for the first 3 months at least. Yeah, just shop around and make sure you know it's light, it's mobile, and you feel comfortable cleaning it and adjusting it. This is called the snot sucker. The snot sucker. You put the tube in the baby's nostril, and because they don't know how to blow their nose, you have to suck out the snot.
Ew.
And so
what do you do with it? Do you swallow it?
It's in your mouth, and sometimes it just stays in the tube. If you're lucky, Vlad. If you're lucky, Vlad.
Oh.
If you're lucky, it stays in the tube.
Bam, bam, bam. All right, time to pay the piper. Tony made me get these jeans. I'm just saying it for the record, Marion. This is Tony's fashion sense.
Baby's first jeans. Come on. These are great.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, my brother.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys.
Oh. There's so much stuff I didn't even see. I left some stuff behind. Okay. Thank you, my brother. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. But I thought you were going to still show up carrying the little baby.
My little baby.
By the way,
Tony, that was so good.
Yeah, that was great. Shout out to Shannon Lloyd-Brand, who produced that. Ken Young, who was our cameraman. Vina Millian, who was our camera person. They were great.
And he gave you good advice.
I got a 3-page list of advice here. I'll post it.
Oh my God! So that was Vlad's very clever way to use a corporate card to expend $1,000 worth of.
Tony, that did seem like good advice, but I'm wondering about. I'd just like to hear from the doctor. The whole snot sucking thing, that is new to me. That's not a good idea, is it, doctor?
Well, your stomach has a lot of acid. Probably you're going to be okay with that.
No, I'm not worried about that. I mean, does a baby really need his snot sucked out?
Well, yeah, that's two things. It's the ick factor, which is definitely high if it's going into your mouth. But I think, it's funny, all these things that for millions of years, kids, figured out a way. I mean, that's usually not a way that you're going to have child mortality. Seriously, is through snot in the nose. It's more like childhood illnesses like measles and mumps and diarrhea and things like that. So that's more just aesthetics, and of course it's uncomfortable for a kid to not be able to breathe through the nose. But there's this thing called the mouth. So, but I understand. I've had that with the nose, and it's coming, and it's just more. How many times can you do that with the tissue paper? So, I've never.
Ours has a filter.
I didn't have a snot sucker dilemma, an SSD, when I was a young father. So,
yeah.
Ours has a filter. Unfortunately, there's like a little foam filter, so the snot never comes in your mouth. And before that, they had one that is like a dropper. It kind of looks like
a squeegee. It's a squeegee. Yeah, that's what we have.
Something all you guys know about?
Yeah. They don't sell those.
Happening here.
We never bought the sucker, but we have squeegees. Yeah.
It said the sucker is the only one you can get in Italy now. The squeegee one is no longer on the market. They've taken it off because apparently there were some hazards associated with it. So, but our daughter sleeps a hell of a lot better when she's got a clear nose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's essential.
I think you can't overthink it all a little. You can't overthink it all a little bit.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've got this generational difference here in Steve's fathering without the snot sucker, and now Chris and Ramy are going through it with it, makes me think about our own fathers, and I think we should wrap up here in the next 5 minutes with a reflection on the dad that raised you, if there was a dad on the scene, and how you tried to be different or the same from that gentleman. Steve, want to take it?
I say the best thing my dad did was he set a very good example. He was, completely honest. As best we can tell, he never missed a day of work. He would never lie about saying, "Oh, I've got to do something, so I'm not coming to work today." He set a great example. The thing that I've done differently is I don't ever remember him playing with me, other than playing catch maybe in 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I don't remember him doing much beyond that, and I've done everything in my power to make sure my kids know darn well that I played with them at every opportunity. But it was different parenting strategies back then. But that's how I'm different, and just the example he set, the integrity that he showed, is certainly makes up for all the games of baseball we missed.
Is he still with us?
No, he's not. We did a lot of pieces with him. He was on TV. He's probably been on in my stories more than any other character because he was so entertaining. For a while, when I was at 60 Minutes Wednesday, they would say, "Just go on vacation with your dad," and that would be the story. So, I wish he was around because I got a lot of free vacations out of that.
I love that. Dr. LaPook?
Oh, my father, Dr. Sidney LaPook, was a dentist during the Depression. Again, it very much reminds me of how Steve is describing his dad. Integrity. He would just say, "Just be good." The dental office was attached to the house, so we saw him all the time. He worked really hard, like 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week. He gave away a lot of his time to take care of, especially cleft palate kids. I remember Sunday mornings, we would be in the parking lot of the hospital, and he would run in just for a minute, and then an hour or an hour and a half later he'd come out. Great guy. Later in life, he lived right next door to us, literally the apartment house next to us, and he would wait with my mother on the bench, and they would come. My kids would be coming back from school, and they weren't intrusive. They would wave, but imagine that, being able to see your grandkids, for them to see their grandparents every school day. So look, it was great. We were blessed. He died at 99 3/4. And I will leave you with this little moment of perspective, which I actually tell this to my patients who are saying, "Oh, I'm getting so old," or "I'm worried about, I wish I were younger." When he was 97, we were having lunch together, and suddenly he kind of had a wistful look. I said, "What, Dad?" He goes, "To be 90. So no matter how old you are, there's somebody who wishes they were only your age." And he taught me a lot of philosophy. He's a great guy. I miss him every day.
Ramy, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. My dad was the first immigrant to the United States and became a naturalized American. He didn't have very much to his name. As he likes to say, he had $5 in his pocket. And he made himself through, the American dream that we all talk about over the decades. I talked about work-life balance earlier and how that's important to me. And I say this with love in that I think it's dear to me because my dad worked so hard, as all of our dads did. But he wasn't present as much as I think, looking back, I wish that he was. And I want to be and iterate beyond that to make sure that I'm here for my kids. With that said, he provided for us as much as he could. He had 2 jobs, probably for decades. He's still working. He's 75, 76 this year. He doesn't want to stop, and I think I get that from him. And I want to give as much as I can to my kids moving ahead, with the caveat that I still want to be here as much as possible. So I'm trying to get the pros from both sides to give as much in terms of time, but also to work as much to give them as much as I can.
It's a tough balance to strike.
Yeah.
Chris?
Well, we all have amazing dads, and my father, he's Bronze Heart, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Vietnam vet, and you'd never know it. He's one of the most modest and honest people I know, if not the most honest and modest person I know. And similar to Ramy, I wish he was around more growing up because he was working very, very hard. He commuted an hour to work and an hour back. And, I didn't see much of him other than the weekends and a little bit at dinner time, that kind of thing. And I'm very fortunate to have a job that gives me a little more flexibility than that. I mean, you're looking at the Rome Bureau right now. We don't have a brick and mortar space. So when I'm not on air or traveling somewhere, this is where I get to work. And, I am oftentimes away for long stretches of time, sometimes weeks or even more than that, in scary places. And the guilt can start to stack up, but I like to think that in the doses when I'm home, when I get to spend quality time with my daughter, that I'm making up for that.
Yeah, you most definitely are. My father was not a good father. My father was a wayward child of the 60s. He was very confident that marijuana would be legalized in the 70s, and he spent that decade dealing it illegally. And then when Reagan was elected, he kept dealing it illegally, and then he went to prison. The lesson from his life, though, because he wasn't around a lot, but he would crash through the wall every now and then in an entertaining fashion, was that your life can be a canvas, and you can create on that blank space with abandon. You can make your life whatever you want it to be. And the lesson was a freeing one for me. I didn't have to follow in his footsteps. There was nothing destined about who he was and who I would become. And so while he did not intend it as an act of fatherhood, it ended up being the most valuable lesson a son could have, the confidence to go off and build whatever life suited him. And I'm living that life now, talking to the 4 of you on a wonderful afternoon about our wonderful families. We're very lucky.
That's great. Thank you, Tony.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
And with that, guys, I really appreciate the time. And thank you to those who tuned in. And we will see you on the interwebs and also your televisions, I hope.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yes.
Happy Father's Day, everyone.